and welcome back to the Closers Inner Circle podcast with your host, Denise Griffitts and Ben Gay III. Now, this week we are continuing our in depth exploration of the sales infiltration chapter from the Closers Part 2. This multi part series is designed to provide a masterclass in advanced sales strategies. And write that down, advanced, offering listeners actionable insights to elevate their sales approach and transform their sales careers. And I want you to prepare for maximum impact. So before diving into week 3, which is this one, take a moment to catch up on weeks 1 and 2 of the Closers Inner Circle podcast. These foundational episodes provide essential context and insights into the powerful strategies that we're discussing, and they will ensure that you get the most out of this series. These links are in the podcast show notes. And additionally, to maximize your learning experience and gain as much sales wisdom as possible, make sure you have the Closers Part 1 and Part 2 in your entrepreneurial library. These books are crucial companions to the podcast series, offering in-depth knowledge that will enhance your understanding and application of the strategies shared by Master Closer Ben Gay III. Ben, good morning. It's Wednesday. I'm glad we're here together.
Well, good morning to you, and it's a pleasure to hear your lovely voice. It dawned on me today, I always kid with you that today, Wednesdays, is the day I take out the trash and and do your show, usually in that order. And then I looked at my calendar, and I think today is Ash Wednesday. Is that right?
I have no
Oh,
idea.
uh, I don't either, and the calendar I'm looking at doesn't say it. But anyway, when I was making a note about today's show a couple of days ago, I saw take out the twigs and trash and so on. Denise's show at 10 a.m. And then I saw Ash Wednesday. So to the Catholics among us, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I thought it was mildly humorous that today was Trash Day and Ash Wednesday. Uh, so off we go. I've got you.
Check
We
that
always start
out.
out. We
I
start
know
out with
we're close to Mardi Gras, and then all that the rest of that starts. So, and Mardi Gras, I believe, is next week, and
well.
then it's Lundi Gras, which is Monday, Tuesday, which is Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras, and then I think Ash Wednesday's the next day.
It is Wednesday,
Okay,
March 5th. I just found
okay,
it again.
we're a week off.
Yeah, so that would be much more humorous if I mentioned it next week instead of this week. I'll try and remember that, but you're
It's not
right.
as if anybody listens to us. You can do it and get by with it. We're good. So we're just talking to each other. I think, well, I don't
That's
know.
what I love about your show, or on Wednesdays, our show. I've told you, and I'll now tell our listeners, the first time uh, Denise asked me to be on the show, I said fine, and we chatted a bit to make sure we knew each other somewhat. And then I called, or she called me, or something, and we were talking. And we talked and just had the best time. And then I'm thinking, I wonder when she's going to start the show. And you said something to the effect of, well, we're about to run out of time and we don't want to overrun the recording and so on, but it's been nice. And I'm thinking, that was the show? My God, I thought we were just two old friends talking about selling.
I know. And we've
Yeah,
been the best of friends ever since. And that was, gosh, 8, 10 years ago. It was a long time ago.
I guess longer than I remember, so that makes it a long time ago. But anyway, to start us off today, Patty Barnes, one of our listeners, uh, wrote in and said, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but the gist of it was, you love to talk in word pictures, which is true. I'm a storyteller by nature, being from the South, and one of the I can turn "Hi, how are you" into a 30-minute conversation with 5 stories built into it. So I understand the concept of can we picture it? And her thing was, I want to be a sales infiltrator, which by good luck is the chapter we're in today and for the next period of time. But I'm having a hard time picturing it. I hear what you're saying, but how do I conduct myself? How do I uh, how do I act as a sales infiltrator? And the real answer to that is act like the good person you probably are, Patty, and let that shine through. There's not a, raise your right hand and skip on your left foot secret to it. But to give you a word picture, uh, people I've found tend to be on their best, most sincere behavior at funerals, especially when talking to people near the deceased, the widow, the mother, whatever. That's when you lean in, pay attention, take their hand, and say, I'm so sorry, and so on. And even if it's not your normal demeanor, that's what you do. When my dad died, I cry when my shirts come back from the laundry. I tear up very easily. When my dad died on the way back to Atlanta, I wrote his eulogy. And when I got off the plane, went to the house and saw mother for the first time since his death. And she said, all right, now with the funeral. And I said, good news. I've written the eulogy, and I pulled it out of my pocket, and she reached over and took it away from me. And she said, I really appreciate that, but the minister's going to give the eulogy. I'll give him this for you. I said, well, I'm the son. She said, the chance of you getting through a eulogy about your father without sobbing and breaking down and crying are zero. I'm already sad enough. The minister will give the eulogy. Well, it turned out he gave it almost word from my notes. So I sort of got to participate. But at funerals, I'm really, I try to be all the time anywhere, but at funerals, I'm really dialed into the needs and cares and wants of the survivors, for lack of a better word. And that might be one of the times when I'm at my best. So, Patty, if you want to picture something, probably consider how you conduct yourself at a funeral. And the other one is weddings. And I always pause there because weddings, while we're still greeting the bride and groom and so on, maybe before the reception, where some people tend to have a little too much to drink and get wilder. But the good parts of a wedding, when you're greeting the family, the mother, the bridesmaids, and everybody, when you're on your best behavior, the way you would conduct yourself at a wedding is close to funerals, weddings, and sales infiltration. When I picture someone conducting themselves properly at a wedding, for instance, or a funeral, I always think of Jimmy Rucker, the greatest salesperson I ever personally worked with. The inspiration for my term sales infiltration. He asked me one day, what exactly is sales infiltration? Because he'd heard the term in a seminar I did that he was at. And I said, you are sales infiltration. He said, really? What's that? And I said, that's the beauty of you, Jimmy Rucker, and the reason you're a bad sales trainer. You don't know what you do. It's just you. He's a kind, gentleman, Southern gentleman. And when he asks you how you are, he really means it. He wants to know how you are. In fact, if you skip over it, he'll double back and say, no, no, how are you? How you doing? He wants to know. And that's part of being a sales infiltrator. His idea of training, I've told you this before, is, well, just watch what I do and do that. So I had to figure out a way to write most of it down, put it in a book so other people could benefit from it. And then Patty asked about qualifying questions. She says, you talk about qualifying questions all the time. What is a qualifying question? Well, you might call a qualifying question as a cousin to a trial close, where you're sort of taking the temperature. You want to know where you are in the sales presentation, more importantly, where they are in the sales presentation. And one that comes to my mind is just a little obscure, but I was talking to Denise about it earlier. one of the things I say to doctors, and I'm at the age now where I see doctors, they're checking up to make sure I'm still alive and will pay my bill. They don't have anything wrong with me, but I seem to see more of them than I used to. One of the qualifying questions I always ask the doctor, kiddingly, but I mean it. I said, well, we could do this or ignore it or whatever, and I always stop them and I say, okay, what if I were your father? What would you tell me to do? And then before he or she can answer, I say, oh, hold it. Do you love your father? Because that enables me to grade the no, I hate the SOB. Okay. So maybe what would you tell your father is not a good question, but it tells you where you are. A good qualifying question is like sticking a thermometer in a roast or a turkey or something to see where you are. And occasionally it results in the sale. I frequently am just testing to see where you are, and they say, well, let's do it. I really like this. That's a bonus. What I was really looking for is where are we in the presentation so I know where we go next. So that's a qualifying question / trial close. And as far as being a sales infiltrator, I'm sure you've already done it, or you wouldn't be listening to the broadcast. And uh, I'm sure you're reading the book, but let me encourage you to get out the closers part 2. Go to page 257. The rest of the book is wonderful, but the best thing I've ever written about selling is sales infiltration, starting on page 257, where we explain as best we can what those of us who are sales infiltrators, what we are, what we do, how to conduct ourselves, and so on. And what Jimmy Rucker did, he was just a master at it, but he was a natural. There's that old 4 stages of learning: the unconscious incompetent, doesn't know what he's doing, and doesn't know that he's not, that he doesn't know. The conscious incompetent is aware that he's not up to speed, and hopefully is looking for a way to solve it. The conscious competent, who knows what he or she is doing, uh, and does it deliberately. And everybody goes, well, is that the goal? And then I say, well, no, well, there's the unconscious competent who does it right and doesn't know that he's doing it right. It just comes natural to him. That sort of comes as you evolve in selling and as a sales infiltrator, but it's really not the goal. I'm more excited to have you at stage 3, where you know what you're doing and know that you know what you're doing. The old saying, I know that I know that I know. And I think that's the best place, because then it's replicatable. In a given situation, I can do what I'm supposed to do, uh, word for word or thought for thought, in almost any situation. I've been at this a long time. As I frequently think to myself, this isn't your first rodeo. Just follow the system, do what you're supposed to be doing, and all caps, listen, LISTEN. I wrote somewhere the other day, because I found it in my notes, that listen and silent are used the same letters, which is sort of ironic. But listen, because if you listen, most prospects will tell you what they want and how they want to buy it just by talking to you. They'll say up front what they want, and just as importantly, what they don't want. So learn how to question, and then learn how to listen. Nelson Mandela was known as a dynamic listener. He was a great speaker and a brave guy, and survived the unsurvivable. He survived, but he was known as a dynamic listener. Therefore, when he talked to someone, he was talking about those things that were responsive to their question, and responsive because it went beyond just listening. He was aware of his surroundings, was responsive to their needs and wants, even if they couldn't. verbalize them themselves. He knew by listening. So make sure you dial that into the equation. And then, although we're starting a little deeper in the chapter, I want to go back. I'll probably do this every time from now on and make sure we all understand what the word infiltrate means. Sales infiltration, by the way, was written. I was already writing this chapter uh, by hand on a legal pad years ago. And a guy came in my office and with a tool belt on and everything, knocked on the door, came in. And I said, "How can I help you?" And he said, "Well, I'm here to work on your filtration system." And I stopped him. I said, "Whoa, thank you very much. You just helped me finish a chapter." I was on the first page. And he said, "Of what?" And I said, "A book on selling. Go find something else to do in the building. I'm sure there's other things you're working on, and make me last on your list, because I need to take what you just said and use it effectively." And the word was filtration, from which I got infiltrate. And that to me was like, bang, that's what Rucker does. He gets in with them. Denise, I've told you, if I meet somebody, I'm pretty good at what I do, but if I meet somebody, I'm going through the motions of finding out about them and asking questions and so on. But with Rucker, when he met somebody, I'm thinking of when we were doing opportunity meetings for Holiday Magic Cosmetics, I'd meet somebody at the meeting, as we had agreed to do. And I'm still saying, "And what's your last name again?" And Rucker is coming over with his prospects, and he's already been invited to the family reunion, and they got a wedding coming up that month and so.
And
And
he's
I,
got kids named after him.
yeah, I'm thinking, how the heck did that happen? But they sensed that Rucker cared. Mary Kay or somebody said, "People won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel."
Oh, right, Mary Kay Ash. Yep.
Yeah.
And
I
I
don't know if
want,
I took, go ahead.
yeah, she did work, and we'll go back to that because I wanted to say this because you were talking about, in the very beginning, you were talking about listening and, painting that word picture. And then you talked a little bit about how we got connected and you were my guest on my show. And I started scribbling because I listen. I think I'm pretty good at listening. But when I'm talking to somebody, like I'm talking to you right now, I'm in my office chair, but I'm not leaned back and I'm not, I mean, I am leaning in. I am leaning in. I'm listening intently. I'm taking notes. And that goes back to when I was a kid. We used to have the wall phone with a long cord. If there was
Yeah.
another phone, my parents hid it. We weren't allowed to see it or pick it up. But I remember, fighting with literally batting my 6 foot some odd brothers in the head to take the phone away from them because they were taking it away from me. And then I would curl myself into a cupboard. That was difficult. I'm claustrophobic, but that phone was mine. And I had to literally scrunch in and lean in to listen. And I've done that all of my life. I do it with my podcast. I'm leaning in.
When you and I are talking, I can tell when you're taking notes. There's usually a little pause. It reminds me of you're watching on television and the host is interviewing somebody in Berlin and asks a question, and there's that little 1, 2 second delay while the sound gets to them, and another 1 or 2 second delay getting it back. I can tell when you're taking notes because I hear that 1 or 2 second delay and I think, "Oh, she's finishing up that thought or those sentences." And that type of listening
Very
makes you,
good. That's
yeah,
exactly what I'm doing.
yeah, of course. I'm fully aware. I have two memo pads out right now for just the same reason. Not only listening to you, but if a thought crosses my mind that we might discuss later in the program, I don't want to think, "I wonder what that was. It seemed pretty good." So I write it down. That was one of the first lessons on day one that Dr. Hill taught me. First day one that I remember. I was a little slow to the party. I thought I was babysitting an old friend of my boss when Dr. Hill was introduced to me and left in my office. I'm thinking, what am I going to do with him? Well, it turned out he had lots of plans of what he was going to do to me and for me. But at first I didn't understand that. So anyway, he said something and I nodded and he said, you ought to write that down. I said, I'll remember it. And he said, no, you won't. Where's your memo pad? And I didn't have a memo pad. I had scraps of paper on my desk and whatever. But he said, no, you need a memo pad. And he called out to Martha Conley, her nickname was Marty, my secretary slash boss. And he said, Marty, could you get Mr. Gay some memo pads, please? And when she brought him in, he put them down. He said, always have one of those within arm's reach of you, here, at home, in the car, anywhere. And don't trust your memory. Write things down that are strike your thought pattern or you think is something notable to return. And I have boxes, literally boxes of notes. I did what I was supposed to do with them at the time, but I couldn't bring myself, in many cases, throw them in the trash can in case I needed them again. Or if I'm about to do a podcast and I want some fresh ideas, I can just shut my eyes, reach down into the box, pick up a handful of notes, look through them, and find enough to talk about for an hour or so. So write them down. Listen with a capital L, become a dynamic listener, write down. I even do it in sales presentations. When and if, and they always do, say something interesting or important to what we're doing at the time. I say, do you mind if I take a few notes? And they're always flattered that someone's going to think enough about what they're saying to take a few notes. And I do. And sometimes they will hear them back in the final close, almost word for word, because they told me that's what they wanted. They told me how they wanted to buy. It isn't a mystery, but you got to listen. And to that, let me add, and care. I think I've told you this, but Gigi taught me a great lesson one day at the post office. uh, if I'm available in town and available at the end of the day, about 3:30, we make the post office run to pick up mail and to take the leftovers that hadn't been taken in the truck earlier in the day to mail out books, jewelry, whatever. Gigi sells jewelry. So anyway, there's a guy there we just love, and I kid with him every time I go in. If he doesn't pay attention to me, I yell from one end of the lobby. He works at the far end of the lobby. I'm fine, David. Thank you for asking. And everybody in the lobby laughs because they're used to, at the end of the day, this guy comes in and makes fun of David. My best one, just to get off subject for a moment, my best one was he said something. I could see he was talking about me, smart alecky, to the customer in front of him, and I had to wait in line for something. And so I'm standing there and I saw him do it, and he looks over at me, and the lady turns around and looks at me. I am the subject. So I pretended like my phone rang. I said, excuse me, David, I'm sorry. Hello? Yes, I'm right here. I'm at the post office. No, I can see him from where I'm standing, and everybody in the post office can hear this. Yeah, I'll ask him. David, it's your mother again. She wants to know, and it's about the 15th of the month. She wants to know if you'll lend her $10 till she gets her welfare check at the end of the month.
See, this is why I love you. You are a mean man. You're charming, but you're mean. So what did he do to you? Did he
Uh,
get you that day or did he wait a week
no,
or
he
two?
waits. He'll say something snarky, but then next I've come in there before and he's saying to whoever's in front of him, watch out, that guy behind you is crazy. Don't make any sudden moves. And so delightful guy. But anyway, I said all that to say this. One day we're in there, Gigi's with me, and David said, so how was your weekend or whatever? How was the holiday? Whatever had just happened. And I told him, we did this, and we did that, and we did this, and so on. And so I finished answering his question. And then I was ready to grab my stamps or whatever and leave. And Gigi reached over and touched my arm and said, and David, how was your weekend? And I thought, my, that's a novel idea. Ask the ask the other person, because I'm Ben Gay, and if it's
Right,
yeah,
right.
I'm the center of attention. Why would we want to know what David did all weekend? But I've never forgotten it. And anytime he's Mexican, anytime we're approaching Cinco de Mayo or any national holiday of any kind, I'll have Ash. I think he's Catholic. I'll have Ash Wednesday in my mind on the right Wednesday
Yeah.
if I happen to see him. But listen and care and create. And this isn't even my notes, but it really important. Create what I call a secret relationship with anybody, not somebody you meet on the street necessarily, but anybody you're going to have a potential or real relationship with, ongoing contact. Create a secret relationship. And what I mean by that is something that is between the two of you. Like with David, my secret relationship is I make fun of him, he makes fun of me. And what we're really doing is performing for the 15 or 20 people that are usually in line. Normally, if I'm carrying stuff in, I'm just putting it up on the counter and leaving. I don't like lines, so I don't do anything that requires them if I can possibly avoid it. But David and I have a secret relationship. We kid. We've never met outside of the post office lobby. We don't socialize, but it's our shtick. And the people in the post office know, because people tend to do things at the same time, same day, whatever. We're creatures of habit. Many of the people in any given line at the post office are the same people that were there the other 4 days of the week or whatever. And when I come in, the heads turn because they want to hear what today's insult is or today's kidding is and so on. So David and I have a secret relationship with the audience. We've never acknowledged that they listen, but we're both performing for the audience. I'm not nearly as funny if I walk in and he's the only one there, which happens sometimes. And I go, "Hey, David, how you doing?" "Fine, Ben."
So you guys are the floor show. I
Yeah,
get it.
you got
I
put
have
put
to
put put
per
15 people in line. It's showtime.
I have to tell you a quick Southern secret, and it shouldn't be a secret, but it appears to be. And down here in the South, you cannot go anywhere. You cannot step foot out of the front door to, some an Amazon package is being dropped. They don't just throw it and run. They'll say, "Hey, how are you?" And you
Hmm.
have to respond. You can't say, "Oh, good." And I do this all the time. Particularly, I've noticed, particularly if I'm talking to somebody on AT&T or, some poor schmuck
Hmm.
that's answering the phones and they're used to getting their butts chewed. And they are, I think, it's mandated by law. They have to ask how I'm doing. And I will always say, "I'm well, thank you for asking." And you, and they stop. What? And then they tell me.
There you go.
And, I mean, I've learned about people's cats. I've learned that somebody just lost her mama 3 days ago. Listen, and I don't do it to get superb service. I do it because it's the polite thing to do. "I'm very well. Thank you for asking." And you. It makes a huge difference in how you're going to be treated and how you're going to
I was
treat
just say
other
you
people.
you may not do it because you're trying to get good service,
No, I
but
just do
that's
it
a benefit.
because it's
You're
a Southern
Southern.
thing and I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And once I realized what was happening, I was like, "Well, I'll be darned." You can't just say, "I'm good," and then keep on going. That's
Yeah.
rude. Don't do it. "I'm well. Thank you for asking." And you.
My quick response to that is people say, hi, how are you? And I say, I'm handsome. Thank you for asking. How's your life going? They tend to get a kick
So
out
now
of
you've
it.
made
They pretend,
friends.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, you're known as the fun guy, and that's a big part of selling. That's a big part of sales infiltration. Whenever Jimmy was working at a table, picture an opportunity meeting type thing, your prospects, you've seen the big meeting. Now you're talking about them getting in the business. I could always tell where Rucker was because laughter was coming from there. It wasn't a threatening sales situation where he's trying to close them and they're trying to resist, and you can feel the tension in the air. Like go into an automobile showroom. There's if they've been taken to the table or to the desk, there's tension in the air. He's trying to sell a car for more money than he should be asking. She is trying to buy it for less than they're going to get it for. And the war is on. If Rucker were selling those cars, I don't think he ever sold cars, not while we were together, but if Rucker was selling those cars, you would hear laughter coming from that corner of the showroom. They'd be laughing and giggling and somebody said, I saw a scratch on the fender. Oh, you got me. I'm just making this up, but that would be Rucker. Oh, you got me. I was hoping you wouldn't notice that. Yeah, but that's the reason it's this low, or we've already accounted for that. Or show me where I didn't catch it. Fine, great. The body shop will, the finishing department or whatever, will fix that before you leave. And if it makes you feel good, I'll take $50 off for the aggravation. And he'd sell a car.
Right, right.
That's the way instead of, well, all cars get scratched from time to time. The salesperson goes into their defensive mode. So that it's
A
just
lot. Is that a
crucial.
problem? You don't
Yeah,
like impounded cars. What's the problem here? But yeah, and that's part of sales infiltration. People need to be comfortable with you. They have to be able to detect almost instantly that you're genuinely interested in what you're
right.
talking about, what they have to say. Can we make this work? If we can't, no hard feelings. Is there anything else I can do for you? That's sales infiltration. You have to be genuine in your responses.
Yeah, and the car they're buying today is, or not buying today, is not the last car they're ever going to buy. Somebody asked me the other day how many cars I had bought, and I'm not talking about giveaway as contests, how many cars I have bought for my own personal use, starting with a 1936 Chevrolet I paid $50 for uh, when I was too young to have a car, but that didn't stop me. I had
And
$50 and there
let's
was the
make sh-
car.
let's make sure the audience knows that you hid it from your daddy.
Oh yeah, my father said I could not have a car.
Right. So you
So
went and got a car.
that's why I went and got a car and
Right.
parked it a block away from the house when I wasn't driving it. I make sure they weren't around. Then I'd run, get in the car, and my friends and I would go do something. I'm not talking about for a year. This lasted a very short period of time, a couple of weeks max. Anyway, I walk around the corner off East Lake Drive, take a left on Tupelo, and go down to where my car is cleverly hidden, and my car isn't there, but there's a note nailed, thumbtacked or whatever, to either a tree or a telephone pole. And I'm paraphrasing, but the gist of the note was, I said no car. And the car was gone. And it was never mentioned again. I didn't say who took my car, where's my car. They didn't say, are you missing anything? It was like it never happened. I never bought it. I never had it. He never stole it. Nothing till the day he died. I was remember thinking that, at the funeral, you're always thinking, well, I wish I'd said this. I wish I'd said that. At the funeral, I'm thinking, I wish he told me what he did with my car, just as a
Did you ever
courtesy.
find out? I mean, the car
No,
just disappeared into thin air.
disappeared.
Well, your dad was good.
And none of my friends knew. I mean, it wasn't like people keeping it from me. I'm not
Right.
sure my mother knew,
Oh,
but dad did. I knew his handwriting. I said no car. But anyway, my point is, as a sales story, I started with a 1936 Chevrolet and it started running through my mind, this car, that car, this car. And I'm not sure I got them all. I was a little fuzzy in the middle on a few of them, but I think it was 23 cars I have owned for me and my wife before Gigi. Other wife, but 23 rings a bell. So when you're losing me today as a car salesperson, and then as you know, I went on to buy six and or lease 600 other luxury cars to give away as prizes and so on. Uh, the when you miss the sale with me today, a smart salesperson, no matter what my condition is, position in life at the time is, or whatever, would be thinking if he knew that story, well, I'm missing this one, but he's going to buy 22 more for himself over the rest of my life and career, and maybe 600 if he's giving cars away like he used to. I think we'll leave on good terms. I don't think I'll be abrupt. I will be as gracious and charming as if he'd bought the car so that he might come back. My goal, and I talk about it in the book, is to become the vice president of fill in the blank for a customer, vice president of motivation, vice president of sales training, vice president of personal coaching, vice president of where you go to find out information, the person to call. And that's what I encourage salespeople who are working with me to do. You want to be my vice president in charge of whatever, fill in the blank, so that when I need whatever, or I'm even thinking in that category, I call you. I come see you, I call you, I come to you. We have an auto, I don't know what you'd call it. It's Big O Tires here in town. I don't think they're national, but I know this one's a franchise of somebody. And the group there, there's 4 or 5 of them behind the counter. They've lubed a car or two several years ago. And I started talking to them, and they were pretty good. And I gave them each a copy of whatever was appropriate, the closer's parts, 1 or 2, and autographed them for them and so on. And so they treat me like a king when I go in there and or if I phone. But they are my vice president and presidents, because there's several of them, in charge of all things automobile. Even if I know they don't do it, I call them to find out who does, because they're in the family of people who do it. They don't do transmissions, but they know everybody in town who does, and they know who the good ones are and who the flakes are and so on. So if I had a transmission problem, I would call Big O. One of 4 guys is going to answer the phone. They're all good. And I'd say, "Hi, this is Ben Gay." They would, "Oh, Mr. Gay, how are you? So good to see you." And then I always say, "Call me Ben." "Okay, Ben, uh, here's my problem today. Do this, go here, ask for them, tell them I sent you." That just takes so much stress out of your life when you find, even if they didn't know they were, when you find a sales infiltrator. They got inside me. Now, in many cases, I encourage them to get inside me and find out what's going on so that I can use them as a resource. But we had a mold problem in one of our rental properties. And the people, I don't know who discovered or how, but it turned out it wasn't like, I went and got a spray bottle from the local janitorial service, who is also my vice president in charge of cleaning up things. I got a little spray bottle and I took it over and I said, "Just spray this on it and wipe it down, see if that cures the problem." It was in the bathroom. And they said, "I don't think that's going to do it, but we'll try." And they did. And then they called back. Turns out it was in the walls and apparently had been growing for some period of time. $23,000 later, the problem was solved. All the walls inside the bathroom, the tile had been cleaned and fixed. And of course, when they're doing that, they find other things. So that needs the plumber and so on. But what I really got out of it, besides a repaired facility, is I got 4 new vice presidents of things. And I don't know why, but it's on my memo, attached to my memo pad in the bedroom where I am not. Uh, so I know where to get it. For some reason, that's where I look them up most frequently. If somebody calls and said, "Do you know a good carpenter?" "Yes, I do." "Do you know a good plumber?" "I do." "Do you know a good electrician?" "Yes, I do." Got a pen there? And I have them write down. So I'm the go-to guy, which means I get first, as a good sales infiltrator, I get first look at things. when somebody is looking for a fill in the blank, I know it before whoever really can provide it knows it, or I can guide them to the person I want them to go to for their benefit. I don't mean to get a referral fee or something. And I can stop them from making other mistakes. And when they need something that I do, sales training, public speaking classes, whatever, and I make no bones about the things that I do, they call me first. So, like, you're not polite to the UPS driver because you're up to something. You might as well be up to something because it works the same. That person is telling other people, I have this lady on my route who is so nice and cares about me, and so on. You probably ought to tell them that what you do, so you can build websites and set up podcasts. So you never know who somebody else knows. I've been introduced to some of the most fascinating people in the world by people that I didn't think were ever going to do anything for me. I'm nice because I'm nice. But what you hand out comes back tenfold, and sales
Yes.
infiltrators know that better than anyone.
And I wanted to tell you about my favorite outside of you, obviously, my favorite sales infiltrator. And this happened 20 years ago. Everybody remembers Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. I was in the middle of them. I lived literally equidistant between those two massive hurricanes. And I was living in a rent house and I had been desperately looking for a house to buy. And then here come the hurricanes and it was almost impossible. But my real estate agent, and she listened to me. She must have taken a lot of notes. She knew exactly what I wanted and what I wasn't going to tolerate. I was very clear. I wanted to be quiet in a rural neighborhood. It's 3 streets wide, 3 streets deep. It's grown a bit because the sugarcane fields have been knocked down now and houses are around me. But at the time, this house was a year old. It was 3 streets wide, 3 streets deep. I insisted on a lot of windows, mature trees, and no HOA. That was a deal breaker from the, you want to tell me what to do? I don't think so. So that was never going to work. She called me. I was 90 miles away and she said, Denise, I have your house, but you have to buy it today. It just went on the market today. It's very fair priced. And as you know, we've been talking about this, but you know, companies from New Orleans and from Texas were buying up everything they could find because their executives needed homes. They were pretty wiped out. She said, "You've got to buy it today." And I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Denise, I couldn't be more sure." She sent me the listing. She sent me individual pictures that she had taken for me inside the house and outside the house. And I said, I'll take it. That day, the day it listed, she said, full price. I said, absolutely full price. It was a very fair price. And I got here at 9 o'clock at night. I got to her office. I signed the papers and I owned a home. And she said, Denise, do you want to see the house? It was 9 o'clock at night. I expected her to say, I'll meet with you tomorrow. Came over here and I just fell in love with it all over again. That was 20 years ago. I'm still in this house. And and I don't know if she's still in the real estate business, but if she is, and I need to sell this house or want to sell this house, I'm going to my documents and I'm going to locate her. She's
So
that good. She listened to everything I had to say. She didn't miss a trick.
the that she's a sales infiltrator, even if she's never heard the term.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, she listened, she made mental and or written notes, and she went on about her life. And then one day she's standing in front of Denise Griffitts' home. Said, "Oh, I know where this goes." The house I'm sitting in, complete with a guest house and an office wing, we bought when we lived across the street, renting because we were deciding where to live. I looked over. I had a mother-in-law I was worried about who lived a couple of blocks away, and so far enough away we had to get in the car and go check if she didn't answer the phone because she was of an age where that might be a problem. And we still had two boys at home, so it had to have a main house with uh, some extra bedrooms, two, three, four, whatever. And so I'm standing over at the house we were renting, which, by the way, this morning when I got up is for sale. We moved out of it almost 30 years ago, but it was for sale this morning. So you got to find out what it is worth or might be worth. Gigi will probably want to buy it for a niece or nephew or something. But I looked across the street and I said, either to myself or Gigi, I forget if I was alone or not, there's the house. That solves the problem right there. Bigger house, littler house, nice neighborhood, dead end, T-bone at the end, dead end in effect. No noticeable traffic. We'd lived there for a little over a year, so I knew the traffic situation. Far enough off Highway 49 where you don't get highway sounds. And so I just stood there talking myself into it, and I called. I've mentioned her to you many times before. Called Jan Dowen, who's handled every transaction I've ever had in this area, rented me my office when we started the National Communication Center, rented me the house we started out in, and numerous houses since, purchases and rentals and so on. She's was my vice president of real estate. So I called Jan and I said, I think I found the house we want. She said, okay, who's the listing agent? I said, there's no sign in front of it. I don't think it's for sale. And she said, well, okay. Knowing you, that's not going to stop us. I'll find out. And she made some calls, and turned out the lady was willing to sell. She was a sensible person. People say, I'd love to buy your house. Well, it's not for sale. You haven't heard the price yet. you know, Everything except your integrity is for sale at the right price. And so anyway, she had the deal all but wrapped up, price set, knew what I'd pay, knew what it was worth, etc. And we bought the house. And then there were renters in the main house. They had to be given time to move out. The little house, the owner lived in it, and so on. So we had owned the house 30 days, I'm guessing, before I ever stepped foot in it. Because that wasn't part of the renters were sort of aggravated about moving out and so on. But
Uh,
I had Jan Dowen to call, so that got me my vice president in charge of real estate involved, and she handled everything, negotiated the price, did everything, and then nudged the renters along, telling them leaving wasn't a suggestion. It was a requirement. I didn't
you
have to
go
get,
now. Yeah. As we
yeah,
say in the South, you go now.
yeah, I didn't have to get into a fight with them, but we did give them the
Right.
30 days, which was fair, I thought.
Well, yeah, that is fair. I mean, that's
Yeah.
expected anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a vice president in charge of real estate. And I would almost tell the same story again, so I won't. But we had a big home in Marin County overlooking San Francisco Bay, 156 acres of pasture around it. And obviously had a great, when I first saw it, we were looking up at it because it was on top of a pretty substantial hill surrounded by all this pasture land. And my first wife, Marcia, who's now gone, looked up and said, I love that house. So I called my vice president of real estate in Marin County and said, there's this house. He said, oh, yeah, I'm familiar with that house, owned by the Ferrero family. And I said, well, Marshall wants it. And he said, well, let me see what I can do. Again, never went in the house, everything. We may have been in the house the day we signed some papers, but the deal had been struck and had never been in the house. 5 or 6,000 square feet, 6 bedrooms, da-da, da-da, da-da. Well, I know a bedroom when I see it. I feel bad for real estate agents who have to walk backwards through a house going, and this is the kitchen. Really? The stove would have tipped me off.
Right.
A house is a house, and Farrell was known as a super builder, and he not only built it, he lived in it. So I felt really confident. And Dave, the real estate vice president at the time, vouched for it. So done. You want to get yourself in that position, and sales infiltrators enjoy that position when they say it's a deal, or you tell them you want something, you can trust everything they say, because for the 9,000th time, people buy from people they know, like, trust, and with whom they feel safe. And if you can become that person, your life, your sales life anyway, just opens up. Everything is possible. Uh, People are coming at you. There are times when I have more customers than I want, simply because there's only so many hours of the day, and I don't go from five in the. I do wake up at 4:30 and check things, but I don't go from 5 in the morning to 8 at night, 7 days a week like I used to. So there's a point at which enough is enough, and sales infiltration has put me in that position. I am almost always in a position where I don't have to wonder who I'm going to talk to next, who I'm going to sell to next, etc. They're on the list of people I have to get to. And that's a benefit of sales infiltration. A while ago, I was going to repeat what infiltrate means. Here it is right from the book on page 258. First, what the word infiltrate means: to cause, as a liquid, to permeate something by penetrating its pores, to pass through or into a substance by filtering or permeating. Now, this thing I'm talking about, picture a prospect. That's who you're infiltrating. To pass through. Sounds a little negative, but it's true nonetheless. This quote's right. The definition's right out of the dictionary. To pass troops singly and or in small groups through gaps in the enemy line, to enter and become established in gradually and unobtrusively for subversive purposes. Well, what we do isn't for subversive purposes, and they're not the enemy, but the rest of the concept is absolutely true. Jimmy Rucker, and I don't want to brag about myself all the time. 90% is adequate. I'm a good sales infiltrator myself, but where I learned it originally was from Jimmy Rucker. Jimmy Rucker met you, and within 4 or 5 minutes was your lifetime friend. You were laughing and giggling and patting each other on the back, and as I told you, planning going to the wedding. And then the next time you met him, he was Uncle Jimmy to members of their family.
Right.
Or, yeah, or he was at a funeral because Bob died, and I said, "Who's Bob?" "Well, he's a member of the family." I
Oh,
said, "Okay." Uh, I, I didn't know my Bobs were even alive, never mind dead.
right.
And I wasn't being called uncle by anybody, but I am now. And it all came from him. And life just gets so much easier when you open up that situation.
It really
Oh, wait,
does. And I wanted to go back real quickly to real estate because we both talked about it, but I'm going to tell you who real estate infiltrators are not. And this has been happening a lot, and it's annoying the heck out of me. I'll go out to my little mailbox out there by the road, and at least 2 or 3 times a week. Today, it's only Wednesday, and I've already gotten 3 of these things. I'll get these little, it's either a card, like a, what do you call those cards when you just stick a stamp on it, you send it? I don't even, do we
yeah,
postcards? Do people even
yeah,
send those things?
yeah.
Or, or I'll get, a little envelope and it's, stamped by a machine. So you know it's not a real person that's doing this and it's been printed. I mean, it's all there. You can tell it's not real, but these people, these real estate companies, people, I don't know who they are. They want to buy my house and they really want to buy my house. And they're telling me all I need to know about how I can get them to pay cash for it. It'll close in 30 days. And I'm thinking, you morons. I do my Reba McEntire voice. You moron. I don't know you. I don't trust you. And I'm tearing this up. You can't send them back because they were stamped. They were,
Sure.
with the machine stamp, they won't, you can't just say, leave me alone, don't call, return to sender. You can't do it. So I, get my kicks out of ripping it into shreds and dumping it in the trash on my way back up the lawn.
You ought to
But
take it
they're
over
not
to
going to
their
get
office.
anybody. I've thought about that too. Yeah. It's like, would you stop this crap? I mean, I did when it first started, I did get in touch with one of their offices. I don't know if this is legal or not, but I better not find another one. This one, it was on my door. This is before they got smarter and they started mailing them. And I said, as far as I'm concerned, you just spammed my doorknob. Don't do it again. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you have assured yourself, you may assure
You'll
yourself,
never have any of my business ever.
right,
Yeah.
never. And the old adage, I don't know if it's true or not, it's probably my friends Wade Cannon and Ray Considine who made it up for some article, but uh, a happy customer, they said, somebody said, tells five people. I tell a lot more than that if I'm a happy customer, but tells five people. An unhappy customer tells 17. Now, whether those are true statistics or just a ballpark, but I got the concept. If someone isn't happy with you, they'll go out of their way to find people to tell that they're not happy with you. So if you're a sales infiltrator, good news. The other people aren't, and you can beat them hands down at this game. It's an unfair matchup. You just have to get around, sell a quality product that's competitively priced, spend your day talking to qualified customers while you become, if you're not already, a person of class, quality, and substance. And once you've nailed that and
Right.
some of the techniques in sales infiltration, it's over. It's over. I there there are things in this area that if I bought them from somebody other than my vice president of, I'd be afraid to go out of the house. They know that they're my vice president in charge or whatever, and I better not show up driving some other dealership's car,
Right.
buying a house from somebody else. Uh, I've even told people, a good realtor, our house didn't sell. Yeah, but I'm not going to undermine the person you have. When the listing runs out, here's my card, call me. And frequently they do. And when they do, I guide them to who they should have gone to start with in the beginning. My current vice president charge of real estate. My current vice president real estate, I've never bought anything from. Jan Dowan retired and then she passed away, but I know who it is, and I've sent clients to him, and they were treated well. So now he's my new vice president. And he said, when are you going to buy something from me? I said, probably never. Uh,
Got everything I
I'm,
need.
yeah, I'm in that last house I'm ever going to own, as I'm always telling Gigi. I'm coming out of here in a body bag. So I'm in the last house. I'm not your prospect, but who
Right.
is your prospect is all the people I know. So watch your P's and Q's because I can be your best friend or your worst enemy.
Exactly. Are you talking about body bags? My family, w- we're very articulate in snark. We've all been that way since we were
If you do
very,
say so
very,
yourself.
I do say so. And when my mom was sick and dying, and my brother too, had a double lung transplant, and the joke was, we're going to cremate you, but we're not going to spend a lot of money. You're going out in a hefty bag. I'm not sure we weren't serious, but yeah,
On
well,
trash day,
yeah,
they don't check the trash.
yeah, people throw their animals out there. Why not? Fortunately, all of us were so snarky that nobody ever got offended, or if they did, I never knew about it. But we would just say the most outrageous things to each other, but we knew what we were doing. We knew that we weren't trying to harm anybody or hurt anybody. We were just being little low-level comedians, I guess. Low level. I want it before we are out of time. Here we go again. Tell our audience where they can buy the closers books with free shipping because these books are important to have in front of you. Y'all, listen, write this down. Go get these books and have them open when we work our way through this very long chapter. It's the biggest chapter in the book, and it's the most important chapter. So tell them, Ben.
If you don't have the closers yet and you're in selling, shame on you. As Randy Chaffee put out you probably saw it. I did a podcast with him, and then he put out a thing. If you don't know who Ben Gay the third is, and you're in selling, there's something wrong, or I'm not something. I forget it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
paraphrasing
laughed.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And he meant it too. He wasn't
yeah.
just
Well,
blowing smoke. He meant every word.
I took that as a compliment. But here's what you do if you need the closers, and you do if you're in selling and don't have it. Go to store, get on your computer, and go to stores, STORES ebay.com/, this is all one word, Ronzoni Books, RONZONE Books, BOOKS, Ronzoni Books, all one word. And there you get the best pricing. The only place you can probably beat it at a garage sale if you find one for 50 cents somewhere. One of my best clients bought his first closers at a garage sale for 50 cents. And then we've done millions of dollars in business together over the years. So I don't care where you start, but if you go there, you get great pricing, free shipping. The book is signed by me and dated, and it comes with our unconditional, no questions asked, lifetime money back guarantee. And then if you want to ask us a question that we can use on the show or anything else, ask about my uh, personal coaching or personal mentoring program. It's just my email. So you can reach out to me for any reason. Go to B as in Ben, F as in Frank, G as in gay, the numeral 3, BFG3 at DirectCon, DirectCon, short for Direct Connect, directcon.net. And there, just you put something in the subject line that makes me know that you're interested in mentoring, or you got a question for the podcast, or something that makes me know that you're writing because of my connection to Denise. That moves you to the top of the pile of the hundreds I get every day. You'll be opened in the first batch.
So we're going to stay with this chapter for a while. We're in week 3, and we're not going to go page by page. We're just going to talk about what we feel is important for that week. So I can't really define what we're going to be talking about. Just know that we're going to be in Sales Infiltration, the chapter. So thank you, everyone. We look forward to reading and answering your questions. And I have one, Ben, for next week that it's about sales infiltration in podcasting, which is
Excellent.
a very interesting question. And I've been thinking about my answer because, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know where we're creative. I have to really give this some thought. So to me, I'm like Jimmy Rucker. You just do what I do. It's easy to,
Yeah, watch me
yeah,
and do that.
yeah, yeah. Or my favorite, do what I tell you and nobody gets hurt. That doesn't work, but I like it anyway. So we're going to, and I do have that question in front of me. I'll answer. I hope I'll make good sense on it. But anyway, thank you, everyone. We will see you next week and have a terrific day. Ben, thank you.
Thank you.